Hello, everybody.
Yep.
How would you like to be a walrus?
No, since you have to understand something. Since the dawn of man, when he was crawling up out of the mud, he has always wanted to know the answer. You know, is it better to be? No, what? How did it go?
Shit, now I can't remember.
Is man better off being a walrus or something like that? I don't remember exactly what he said. It's just
we're all a walrus at heart.
I gotta see it again.
This movie, you guys. Yeah.
I gotta see it again. I mean, this is the second time I've seen it. First time I saw it, I really liked it. It was just fucking tripped me the fuck out. Second time I was watching it, it was dawning on me that this movie's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece.
It's a divisive film for sure, but I don't know. There's something I really, really liked about it.
The dialogue is fucking fantastic. The story arc, the story is fucking great. Just the philosophy behind the fucking villain in the movie and everything that happens, it's very unexpected and it's just really weird. And you go like, yeah, that's some weird shit, man. That's some weird shit.
It is, yeah.
And so, if you guys haven't seen this movie, man, I don't really want to spoil it. I know.
Well, I don't know, because I kind of feel like this is kind of one of those things where it's kind of like Human Centipede, where it's like, even if you haven't seen it, like you pretty much know what the premise is. And if you've like seen the pictures. Well, okay. So our kind of, happy Monday and happy Memorial Day. You know, everybody.
When I saw this, I didn't know the premise.
Well, yeah, see, that's what I was going to say. Our history with this movie... We were like, Shauna and Eric were over at our house and we were having a movie day or whatever. And Shauna said to us, you guys, you have to watch this movie. And it's just called Tusk. And that's all we knew. She's like, that's all I'm going to tell you is the title of it. She said, it's on Netflix. I don't know if it still is. And just watch it. I didn't know it was a Kevin Smith movie. I didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't know what it was about. So we just like watched it. And this is definitely one of the, if you haven't seen it, this is definitely one of those, what the fuck am I watching movies? But in a good way.
Yeah.
But like I said, not everybody is going to hang with it. Because I've seen like some reviews of it. Like some people really, really dug it. Some people liked the first half, but not the second half. Some people thought it was tonally inconsistent. Some people didn't like the cameo that's in it. Like the big famous person that's in there cameoing the character that he's playing. That didn't bother me so much. I can see why that maybe would get on people's nerves, but it didn't really bother me that much. So, all right. So the story behind this movie was that Kevin Smith, he has a podcast called Smodcast. And on this particular show, which was called The Walrus and the Carpenter, they had come across, thank you, Mr. Roboto, was Justin Long supposed to be a villain in Tusk? I guess he was, in the sense that, I mean, he was just kind of a dick. Like, but he wasn't enough of a dick to deserve what had happened to him. So I will say that. So I don't know if he was the villain. I think Howard was the villain, obviously.
The question was he better off as a walrus? That was the question.
Well, he was more human as a walrus.
He had a soul as a walrus.
He had a soul as a walrus.
That's the question that mankind has always wanted to know. Are you better off as a walrus?
Some people may be. The answer may be yes.
According to the crazy motherfucker, I call him a villain. He's a crazy motherfucker. Of course he's a villain. He's a serial killer.
He's a serial killer. So yeah, he's the bad guy. Howard Howe.
Yeah. And he had quite a philosophy. I don't know. He lies a lot. I don't know if the walrus story actually happened or if he thinks it happened.
Yeah, because he was crazy.
He was fucking crazy.
So you don't know if any of the shit that he said was true.
I have a feeling he lies about everything. I think it was all delusion.
Yeah, which that's totally possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently, so on this podcast episode, which was called The Walrus and the Carpenter, Kevin Smith had come across this Craigslist ad. I don't know if it was Craigslist or something like Craigslist. And the ad basically said, hey, I'm looking for someone, like, it's a living situation. You can stay in my house for free if, and it had this whole story about, I've made a realistic walrus suit. And you would be required to be in the walrus suit for 2 hours every day, and then you can stay in the house for free. So they read this post like on the podcast, and they thought it was so funny that then they just went off and wrote this whole entire pretty much movie like about like from this person or this ad. And then they got so amused by it, like, because they were talking about Human Centipede and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, we could totally make it like that. And so they were just like kind of bullshitting back and forth. And then at the end of it, they said, hey, maybe we should make this into a movie. And so they told all their fans, they say, hey, put hashtag walrus yes if you want us to make it into a movie, or hashtag walrus no if you don't want us to make it into a movie. And overwhelmingly, everybody wanted it made into a movie, so they made it into a movie. And then it came out later on that the ad, the original ad that they had, found on Craigslist or wherever, was a joke. So the person that had written the ad, like, to be funny, like, contacted them, and I guess he got like an executive producer or associate producer credit, like, on the movie, because he was the one that came up with
the idea.
Hey, come and live in my house, and like, I'm gonna make you dress up like a walrus.
Yeah. The movie cost $2.8 million to make. You wouldn't know it by looking at it. It's a masterpiece. It's a fucking spooky, fucking weird ass movie that asks a bunch of questions, about the nature of man. Now, these questions are fucking asked by a fucking lunatic, all right? But it's still a good idea, I don't want to get into the dude's backstory too much. It's just that he made these claims that when he was young, he got lost at sea and ended up on a small island, and the only thing that was there to protect him was a big, strong male walrus. They kept him warm.
Mr. Tusk.
Mr. Tusk. And they had a great friendship. And make a long story short, he misses his friend and his relationship that he had with the walrus. So he wants to recreate that in his palatial mansion. He's got this big-ass fucking house out in the middle of nowhere, really, in Canada.
Yeah, it's in Manitoba.
So he had a bunch of money, and he had a whole bunch of stories about him and Ernest Hemingway, and so you don't know.
He's quoting Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Yeah, he's real well educated, but I think it's all lies. He said that he was on D-Day, but he doesn't look old enough to be on D-Day. Although I don't think he was old enough, and just fucking crazy shit. You know what I mean? He can't get his walrus friend back, so he's a serial killer that's transforming men into walruses. Into walrus.
Walrus, sure.
Yeah. He's got a whole little dungeon set up with a fucking pool and a fake island, and his version of fucking virtual reality. He's got damn camera projectors projecting maritime fucking backgrounds and scenery like he's out on the ocean. And he wants to just hang out with his walrus friend on the little island and sing songs and shit and weird shit. Weird shit happens, man.
Yeah, this is definitely a really, really weird.
And he explains it. There's philosophy behind it. I have to see it again to fully catch everything. It had to do with the fact that modern men are corrupt and evil and weak. They did bad things to him when he was in an orphanage that got turned into a mental asylum. And then he says that the priests and the nuns raped him, and everybody raped him, and had things in his mouth that no kid should have in his mouth. And you don't know if it's lies or not. I have a feeling he's delusional on everything.
Well, yeah, because you kind of find out later that he's like a serial killer. That he's done it before. Like, he's done the exact
I think it's all in his mind. But said the humans are bad. Humans are really bad and corrupt, but not walrus. The walrus are good.
Are pure.
They're pure at heart. Yeah. And mankind is better off as a walrus. It's just some weird shit. And walrus have survival instincts, and they're not fucking each other over, and they're not worried about shit like money and careers. It's just bizarre, man. So he sets upon the task of transforming the man into a walrus.
Yeah, and it's not just like, he's built like a walrus suit out of skin, it looks like. Out of patched together skin, like some Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit.
Yeah, but he also cuts you up and turns you into the shape of a walrus.
Yeah, kind of, so you can fit in there better.
Yeah. gives you tusks and everything. But that's going the way that's going, and then it makes you eat the way a walrus teaches you to swim the way a walrus swims. It's all an act of love. Okay, it's fucking bizarre, man. It's a good movie.
I still remember the first time we watched this movie because, like I said, the first time we watched this, I had no idea what it was about. I didn't know it was Kevin Smith. I didn't know like what kind of movie it was. I didn't know if it was straight up horror. If it was, I mean, it's essentially it's a black comedy, is what it is. But like I said, how you feel about, I don't know. Like to me, it's just the humor of this, like really kind of that was like right in my wheelhouse because it's like the humor is just like so fucked up in this. And honestly, I loved all the acting in this was really, really good. Like fucking Justin Long was great in this. He was like such a douche, like at the beginning. And because the whole reason that he ends up in Canada is because him and Haley Joel Osment, grown up, obviously, not the kid from The Sixth Sense, which is a movie we just talked about. That'll come out later this week. But they have a podcast, and it's called the Not See Party. But if you say it fast, it sounds like Nazi Party. So every time like somebody tries to like kind of say, "Hey, we have a podcast," it's notseeparty.com, and so it sounds like Nazi, and everybody hangs up on him. Yeah, it's like that kind of shit because I guess he thinks he's being edgy or whatever. So they have that, and their whole shtick is they try to interview people that have humiliated themselves in viral videos. So their latest thing is like there's this kid who went viral as the Kill Bill kid, and he was doing all these moves with a katana and cut his own leg off. And so Wallace, who's the main character played by Justin Long, he's going to go to Canada and interview this kid and kind of make fun of him. You know what I mean? Because that's what he does, because he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, this guy is like kind of like the personification of the fucking modern fucking California American douchebag. Fucking, he's a douche. He's a podcaster. I didn't say he was a YouTuber though.
Yeah, he's a podcaster.
And he's just real superficial, real.
When his whole shtick is like being cruel and just mocking people. That's kind of the whole like thing of their show.
Yeah, I guess he thinks it's cruel. It's not cruelty on a scale that would fucking upset me. It's just being a dick. He thinks he's just being real edgy.
Yeah,
and he just comes off being like a fucking dick.
Yeah.
And he's real kind of like California culture is the center of his fucking world. He doesn't like Canada. He doesn't want to die in Canada. This fucking just real mainstream commercial, run-of-the-mill California fucking douche. He's like one of those who's trying to get famous on the backs of other people. And on the backs of stepping on people and kind of ridiculing the misfortunate or the unfortunate, But he does all kinds of other shit too. He cheats on his girlfriend and fucking just real shallow, superficial.
Yeah, he's just a douche.
Yeah, you could kind of like something out of fucking mainstream Hollywood. That's what they're talking about.
Well, yeah. So
he's a poser too. He's a total fake. He's a fake poser.
So he goes to Canada to interview this kid, but when he gets there, he finds out that the kid has committed suicide because of all the ridicule that he's been getting online. So Wallace is pissed because he's like, man, I flew all the way up to fucking Manitoba, Canada, and now I don't have anything for the show. Like he's like that. He keeps calling that kid that selfish little fucker for killing himself because he's like for killing himself so he can't be on my show.
You know who this guy reminds me of?
Who's that?
That guy we were on his fucking radio show in California.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that was such a long time ago.
But it was like that 70 IQ, really fucking superficial humor. It just, you can't. It feels like you're dealing with children, and these are grown men.
Yeah.
Yeah. He reminds me of that.
So he goes up there, and then I mean, he's just this. I don't know. He's just like a real entitled prick or whatever. So he's in this bar. Trying to figure out what the fuck he's gonna do, and he's like, he spent all this money flying up there and now he doesn't have anything. So he finds this big long letter, which is very much like the original Craigslist ad that they read on the podcast, saying, oh, I have all these stories. And he's like, oh, hey, I'll go to this old dude's house and at least I'll have some weirdo to like talk to.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about a walrus though.
Well, obviously, because that'd be like,
Right. It's just an invitation to somebody to live with him, and he wants to tell his stories because he's in there. He's old, and he needs somebody to do chores, and he can't take care of it. But, that it's a nice place. And if you live there and listen to his stories, you'll be rent free.
Yeah.
And you just do some chores.
Except that's not exactly how it turns out.
Yeah. Well, he just goes there. He doesn't want to stay there. He goes there. He just wants to hear these stories for his podcast. Probably with the intent of making fun of this old dude.
Well, yeah, that's like I said, that's kind of the whole premise of his podcast is just making fun of weirdos.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely why he goes there.
Yeah. Doesn't work out.
But what's interesting about it though is that I really, really liked, and honestly, like Justin Long, he's been in a lot of horror movies. He was actually even in one of the that creep show that we saw the other day. And he's actually kind of an underrated actor. He's really, really good in this.
Yeah.
And the fact that he comes across as such a douche at the beginning, and even though you kind of want him to have something bad happen to him, the shit that happens to him, as much of an asshole as he is, it's just like way, way beyond the pale. So you actually end up feeling like really bad for him by the end, even though he's a total like.
Louis in there. He's another California guy. You know, I grew up in the early part of California too. And he says, there's douches and then there's California douches. Yeah, this guy's a California douche. They're always emulating Hollywood and trying to make it big. You know, it's just part of being a douche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like it's really weird because I think that this is one of those movies you either kind of love it or you hate it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there was a lot of people that really, really didn't like it or really didn't hang with it. It's pretty fucked up. But the first half of it is like this really good, creepy. I mean, there's humor in it, but there's really good, like weird, like suspense building up because you're not entirely sure how it's going to go.
People didn't like this movie?
Well,
I don't know about that.
Well, some people were like, and I saw some shit that was like a lot of horror fans, and a lot of people liked it like during the build up, but then they thought that they're like, oh, well, then it just kind of went too silly like toward the end, or it didn't really like hang together.
No.
But I don't necessarily, like I said, everyone's got their opinion about it, and but I actually thought
they just didn't get it.
Well, it's not so much that. It's like not everybody that doesn't like a movie doesn't get it. Some people just don't like it, and it's like that's fine. But I'm just saying that I thought tonally it worked really well because, like I said, the tone of it is kind of the first half. You know, when he first gets to the old guy's house and the guy's telling him all the stories and everything, you know something bad's going to happen, but you don't know exactly what, and you don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And then once he gets turned into a walrus, it kind of like it goes in a different direction. It's almost kind of like funny and over the top, but then it's also kind of like really unsettling and off-putting at the same time because there's a lot of like body horror in it.
That was the idea.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you know how you feel about that. I saw one reviewer that said something like they said they actually really, really liked the movie, but they said they wish that he had waited a little longer to like reveal the walrus. You know what I mean? Like he wanted more build up. But which I can kind of see that too. But like I said, I'm not really bothered by it.
I think what the deal was is they didn't want to unveil the walrus and then the end go down and then it's over. They wanted you to start identifying with the walrus as an individual character.
Yeah.
That it was becoming that guy had become a walrus. That was the idea. Because,
you know, like you said, I think kind of the thing about it was that almost in a fucked up way, he was almost like a better person as a walrus.
Yeah, I think they were trying to say that the dude that did it to him was kind of right.
Even though he was a serial killer.
Yeah, that didn't necessarily mean he was wrong. It just meant that some people, because they're shitbags, would have more soul and more character if they were a walrus versus a human. Because as a human, they're just piece of shit.
Yeah, he was a garbage
Basically,
person.
what he said. He's a garbage person, but he'd make a great walrus. That's the. And
he did make it because you can't fix that. No. Like what he did to that dude, you can't fix it.
Yeah, and I think he internalized walrusness towards the end, because at the end he was eating the fish and his girlfriend said, "I love you," and he's still in the cage and and he's crying a little bit. But are they the tears of a man or are they the tears of a walrus? That's the way I was looking at it. You know, I think they were the tears of a walrus. It was kind of like a turnabout as a fair play. He was kind of a garbage person, and it was kind of like humiliating the weak. Yeah, basically. And then he turned out he was weak, and he was kind of. He ended up being the butt of the joke. he lost his humanity, but his humanity wasn't shit anyway. But he kind of gained the ability of being a walrus. That's what I think it was trying to say.
David June said he had to go full walrus to
survive. He went full walrus to survive. Because before he didn't have any survival instincts. He went full walrus. He couldn't come back from it.
So this is, I don't know, because I know that this was that Kevin Smith made another movie like in this proposed trilogy. Because this is Tusk, this is the first one. This came out in 2014. Then there was a second one called Yoga Hosers, which came out in 2016, which I don't know if it's completely interlinked, but it's like the same cast. And I think it's also set in Canada. I haven't seen that one. I've heard real mixed reviews about that one too, but I guess that's kind of true of any Kevin Smith movie. And he was supposed to make a third one called Moose Jaws, which was like Jaws, but with a moose. Yeah. But I don't think that one's been made yet. But that's the third one. That's the third proposed one that he wants to make. So he's making all these movies up in Canada. There's actually on the disc, which David June very nicely sent to us a while back, and I'm sorry it's taken us this long to get around to it. But there was actually a really long interview with Kevin Smith where he was just talking. He was talking a little bit about this, but he was also just kind of talking about his career in general. And I have to say that even if you don't love a lot of his movies, and there's some of his movies that I haven't seen yet, you know what I mean? I've seen like some of his older ones. I saw Clerks, I saw Chasing Amy, I saw Mallrats, I saw all that. I still haven't seen Red State. I probably need to get around to that as well. But he just seems like just a good dude. I mean, he just seems like an all-around, good-hearted, humble person who got lucky in a lot of ways because he made Clerks for next to nothing, and it resonated with so many people that he ended up having this career in it. And he just seems like a cool, like, regular dude. You know what I mean? I remember we used to watch Comic Book Men sometimes. That was actually a really good show.
What I thought was weird about this show is after they rescue him, though, is that they kept him in a walrus suit. The human walrus suit. Well,
maybe he couldn't. I don't think that you could get him out of it.
You couldn't get him out of it? Well, I mean, how it had somehow bonded to him.
Or he was sewn in there or something.
It was weird how it kind of, his face had been replaced somehow. And it kind of blended into the, I don't understand.
I mean, the makeup on this, like the walrus was really good.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it was that however they did it, like he had tusks, but it was his actual eyes, and his face was just like really, really expressive still, even though it was like his eyes, but it was like a walrus face.
Yeah.
And like
he
his
had
mouth
made a
and
walrus
stuff.
body and somehow put him in there. I don't really, and he was all mangled up.
Well, he cut his legs off and like he fused his arms, like sewed them to his side of his whatever.
Then he had a whole bunch of human skin too. He kind of grafted onto the outside. I guess it wasn't attached to his vascular system, but he couldn't get him out of it somehow for some reason.
Yeah, maybe it did. I don't really know. But like I said, it's not.
You would reject it. It's not. It's just a movie, and they're just fucking with you.
Yeah, we're thinking about it too much.
Yeah. I was like, how the hell?
Because I kind of feel like I kind of love though that Kevin Smith, they just came up with this fucking ridiculous ass idea for a movie just from a Craigslist ad or whatever. Because like, listen to this crazy shit, and then it's like, hey, let's make a movie out of it.
What was great is just how they come up with a crazy idea like that, and then they come up with a philosophy that justifies the idea, which goes to show you that a lunatic can justify anything.
Well, yeah, of course. That's why they're a lunatic.
If you work on it long enough, you can justify anything. You know.
I mean, just the premise of this, I was just like, man. But honestly, I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote the original ad. Because for whatever reason, I don't know like what that dude's motivation was. He just thought it would be funny. So he just wrote this whole like complicated, and it was kind of similar to Howard Howe's backstory in the movie. You know, that I was shipwrecked and I met this walrus and he was my best friend and stuff. I don't think that like he ate him or anything like that, like in the movie, but it was kind of like this whole backstory. And he's like, and I missed that walrus, so I want somebody to like be in this walrus suit for 2 hours a day and they can live here for free.
Mr. Roboto said that he started with a walrus face. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. There were no walrus parts in there.
Yeah, it was all human skin that was stitched together.
Yeah, and bones
to look like a walrus.
Yeah, and bones for his tusks and shit. There's
Well,
no
he
walrus
used the dude's own bones from his
Yeah,
legs,
yeah.
and he carved them
into Tusk.
I don't think they said that outright, but that was the implication.
They said there were drilled holes in there and the other ones.
Yeah, because the big.
He wasn't the first one.
No, because when he's in the pool, like he sees other ones. Because the big cameo in this, actually it's not even a cameo because it's Johnny Depp. In case you didn't know, but he's I don't want to say he's unrecognizable because I recognized him, but they put like a fake nose on him and like a mustache and a wig and shit.
Oh,
like
that was Johnny Depp did the French.
You didn't know that was Johnny
No,
Depp?
I didn't know that was.
I immediately knew that was Johnny Depp. He was doing like an Inspector Clouseau coverage, which I think was another thing. I think a lot of people didn't like that character. Like it just went on too long and it was like too silly.
Funny. How the hell did he get Johnny Depp to be in this movie?
Because I think their kids go to the same school or something like that.
Okay.
Like, like Kevin Smith's daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter. I think they have daughters that are the same age.
I wonder if he got paid for that.
I don't know. I think Johnny Depp might have been in Yoga Hosers too, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, they're friends because like I said, I think their daughters go to the same school. So I think they met each other that way. That's what I heard. So he just kind of like randomly met him and he's like, "Hey, want to be in the movie?" I don't know if he was in it for free. I don't even know if he was like in the credits because he wasn't supposed to be recognizable. Like I said, I recognized him, but they put like a fake nose on him and he's playing this, he has this like ridiculous sort of French accent.
Yeah, so it's all over the place.
And he's just like, and you kind of get like a lot of backstory about he's been tracking this, serial killer that's like, turning people into walruses all over Manitoba. And so he comes in about halfway through the movie and that's kind of like fucking, I didn't realize this because I think we turned it off before the credits were over, but I think there's an after credit scene.
Oh, there is?
Because where Johnny Depp is in the diner, like talking to the girlfriend and talking to Haley Joel Osment about about everything, and he's eating the hamburgers, like, and he gets like a whole bunch of food and he's eating it and stuff. I think at the very, very end, there's a scene of him like, I don't know if he's farting or if he's just like having like saying that he shouldn't have eaten that extra hamburger or something like that. Because there's a lot of kind of lowbrow, like kind of gas type of humor. Because I think he says earlier on in the movie, he says something about how something gives him gas or something like that. Yeah, Kevin and Johnny Depp are semi pals. That's what I thought. Yeah, Yoga Hosers. Johnny Depp is also in that. Exactly. So, Daniel says, I seen an advertisement for an episode of your podcast about occult roots of Nazism and some extra stuff. Is that available? I couldn't find it. It's on there somewhere. That's like a really, really old one that we did. I thought we didn't have video for that one, I don't think.
No.
But I'll see
where. You saw what now?
He said he saw an advertisement for it for an episode and now he can't find it. Huh. So I'll have to let me look for it because like I said, that's an old one.
Yeah.
But let me see.
Where'd you see an advertisement for that?
Well, he might have been meant like it was recommended. Like in a recommended.
Then that means it's
kind
there.
Of thing. Yeah, it should be. Chili Pepper Burns has got. Yeah, I got that reference. That's from that fucking movie that was on MST. I was sent here for Dia de los Muertos chat.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah. He says, thanks, Jenny. Okay. Well, you're welcome. But yeah, so I don't remember if this movie is still on Netflix or not. I think we initially watched it on Netflix, and I think Yoga Hosers is on there as well. But I don't know if they're still there. We watched it on Blu-ray because David Jin sent it to us. And like I said, we had seen it before. I think I liked it even better the second time. It's a really, really weird movie, and it's really not one thing or another. It's like a horror movie, and it's got some pretty gross, like, body horror shit in it, and it's kind of disturbing, but it's also, like, funny, but it's funny, like, in a bizarro type of way. You know what I'm saying? And I really, really like all the shit when he first gets to Canada, and he's in that convenience store talking to those two girls. That shit's really funny, too. You know what I mean? Tyler says, so few movies I hate, this is one of them. LOL. Like I said, I feel like Kevin Smith's movies are very, very divisive. Every single one of them has been super, super divisive. Because the dude, I mean, you got to give the dude props. Like I said, he seems like a really nice dude, and he makes pretty much exactly what he wants to make most of the time. Other than the one big Hollywood movie that he did, which was called Cop Out from 2010, which I also haven't seen. But he said he had a pretty good experience doing that, but he'd rather do like indie movies. But he just basically makes whatever he wants. He doesn't care how weird it is. And this is one of the weird ones. Sure. You have anything else you would like to add?
No, it's just a good movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like something that would have been made for a really shit low budget back in the 70s, and had been made poorly, and then had been forgotten. But he took this crazy idea and kind of elevated it. I think it's a good movie.
I mean, particularly the first half where he's in that creepy old house, and like all the scenes with the two of them talking and like this. I mean, those are they're beautiful looking shots.
I like all of it.
Yeah, I do too.
I just think it's just weird. It's kind of like Human Centipede in a certain way, not scatological, but or whatever it is. Not.
Somebody said it's like Human Centipede meets Misery.
Yeah.
But funny.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of supposed to feel sorry for the dude, but you're also kind of like, yeah, he was kind of a shithead though. You know what I mean? But it's not, what happens to him isn't really justified. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
It's just saying that he wasn't a very good person, but he might be a better walrus.
Yeah. I guess so.
They were exploring that idea. That's what the movie did. The movie explores that idea.
Let's explore the idea that some people are better as walruses.
As a walrus. Right. That was the idea.
And like you said, I think he probably was.
Yeah.
He probably was.
The tears of a walrus. And just the dude that did it to him is, real philosophical about it. And certain shit has to happen between him and the walrus to get it straight, because something went down between them that he has to make right. It's just fucking, it's a great idea.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's batshit insane, but it's great.
Yeah. Imagine if you just came up with some fucking weird ass tale you were telling your buddies when you were fucking drunk or something, and you're all laughing about this weird ass fucking tale, and then you freeze it in time and then fucking actually make it a movie. That's basically what happened with this.
Well, yeah, that's what they did. They were just fucking around on the podcast, like...
Yeah, very rarely does anything like that actually happen in real life. But it happened with this movie, so... Nobody else would have made this movie. This movie was not supposed to be made.
No, definitely not.
It's cool, though.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Scott says, which one of you has more tattoos? I do.
Jenny does, probably.
I had two that still show, although this one... I had another one, a small one underneath it that got covered up. So technically I have 3. And I have that one too. And he only has 1.
No, that's 3. I have 3 too.
Oh, okay.
They weren't all done at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Added 2.
All right, that's right.
Yeah.
So technically, it's just, I guess because it's all 1, I forgot that it was like done.
No, they were adding to it and fucking around.
Oh, okay. Scott says a lot of people look like walruses in yoga pants. Well, there you go. That is absolutely true. All right. Yeah, Scott says military. Yeah. He was he must be new. Yeah. Although I've seen his name before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the army.
Yeah.
So all right, you have anything else you would like to add?
No.
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 Okay.
I'm good. Shut it down. That's plenty.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what movie we're going to be talking about, but we'll think of something because we have a whole big pile. Mm-hmm. Are there any female walrus humans? I guess we'll never know. He'll have to make another one in which a woman gets turned, a shitty woman gets turned into a walrus.
They were all men.
Yeah, they were. Well, because the original walrus
was a male.
Mr. Tusk was a male. I think in the original Craigslist post, the walrus's name was Gregory.
Okay.
So I thought I would add that for a fun fact. All right. So thanks everybody for dropping by today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about another movie. So have a good rest of your day.